Let's look at Actively Learn, which is another tool you can use to bring content into Google Classroom. Actively Learn lets you browse a catalog of reading material or bring reading material from other websites and insert questions and interactive elements on top of that reading material. You'll be able to sign up with your Google account, so it should be just a one-click sign-up process. Just click on the Google button. You may need to provide a couple of details, but that's it. And your students can sign up in the exact same way, the exact same process with their Google accounts. The first screen you'll see upon loading in is a catalog where you can go to search reading material in all different subjects and content areas. Some of the content available already has questions and interactive elements attached, and you'll see that marked on the particular contents page, so you can just click that blue select button to get going right away. We are going to choose select text only because I want to show you how the workspace works. Click on go to workspace, and now we can add questions and links into our document just by clicking on it. It's going to bring us into the editor. So the first thing you'll see is that you can add directions for your students, and the cool thing about that is you can add a video for directions using just a YouTube URL. So there I added a video about Earth Day. You can also add pre-reading questions, short answer, multiple choice, or poll questions based on a particular standard that you want kids to answer before they actually read anything else in the passage. So kind of a pre-reading, which is pretty neat. You can add media and change the weight of that question as well. Clicking save will apply any changes that you've made to your questions. You can add questions at any point inside of the reading passage just by highlighting some text and choosing insert question. You'll get the same options as you do for your pre-reading question. You'll get to choose between a short answer, a multiple choice, or a poll style question, and you'll still be able to attach that question to a particular standard. You can also use the options button to add media, video, or an image to the question as well. And when you're done, just click save. With the questions, students can stop and check for understanding at different points. Another thing you can do when you highlight text is insert a link to another resource for students to read. So you can have a jumping off point, like if you want to include a particular reference material that goes along with a particular concept inside of a reading passage, just insert a link to it. Also, you can insert notes, and this is really cool. When you highlight that text and choose insert note, you can include a description or an explanation that goes along with that particular moment in the reading passage. So if your kids hover their mouse over that particular vocabulary word or that particular sentence, they will see a note that you've left for them, and they can reply to those notes. So you can have informal discussion within the assignment itself. Another option when highlighting text is to white out the text, which means block it from view when the students are reading the passage. That's a good way for you to kind of trim a passage down to just the parts that you want using that whiteout feature. When reading the work you assign, students can see your questions and answer them. They can see your notes and interact with them, and they can also highlight a word and choose to define it. But you as the teacher aren't done yet. The text settings menu lets you modify the way the content actually looks. You can change the spacing between lines, you can change the size of the text, you can change the font itself, you can change the background of the text, and you can number the paragraphs if you like. There's also a button just for dyslexic settings, all ways to make the content easier to consume by your students. Actively Learn gives you a way to see the work that you've created for your students. Clicking on the little notebook tab lets you see a summary of all the notes that you've added to the content, and also a summary of any questions that you've added as well. And now that we've made this content, let's go back and actually share it with our students in Google Classroom. So you're going to exit the document, you're going to go to the classes area, and you're going to click on the little plus sign. We're going to click the button to import our classroom from Google Classrooms. We're going to tick the box next to the ones associated with our account that we want to bring in, then head back to the workspace to assign the work you want. Click the assign button, click the content you want to assign, and then decide on which class you want to assign it to. This is going to create a post draft in your Google Classroom. So we're going to do the rest of the work in Google Classroom. You'll see at the top of your screen, you see a saved posts area, and that's where the drafts are kept. And you'll notice that Actively Learn has created a draft assignment there for me. I've got to click on that and open it up, add some instructions, and then click the blue assign button to send it out to my students. Then if I go back to my Actively Learn and click on my class, you'll see that I have an assignments area now, and inside that assignments area I have my assignment that I've assigned. I've got some settings there that are pretty important, I think. Some of them allow your students to see each other's work or responses. Some of them require the students to answer a question before they're able to continue reading. All pretty important things, I think. So take some time to go through there and see what settings you'd like to have applied to your assignment to make it meet the needs of what you want to do for your students. Finally, once your students start completing the assignment that you've given them, you're going to be able to see the work that they do by clicking on the assignment itself. Clicking on the little grading button in the upper right-hand corner lets you see all of the responses that your students have provided to the questions that you've given them. And it allows you to assign grades to them too, and you can also filter them based on a particular student. You can also click on the notes button at the top right and see the replies that your students have given to the notes that you've left. But you can also find those by scrolling into the content you created. And you can leave replies back to student replies as well, so you can provide feedback right in the note, right in the moment, right inside the content. And that, my friends, is Actively Learn, a great way to create assignments for Google Classroom.